Mic is on. Welcome to Remember When, a podcast about the moments that made us. It's March 2009 and it's just over a year before the Soccer World Cup arrives in the country, and South Africa lands another global sporting coup, hosting the Indian Premier League, the entire tournament, after India withdraws from hosting it because of security concerns during an election year. Lalit Modi needed a new home for the tournament because it had to go ahead. It's a big money spinner. England were apparently in the running at some stage, but South Africa answered and the tournament was moved here. And it was dazzling. 6 weeks of cricket, celebrities like Shah Rukh Khan, Kala, Cash, all of it. The economic windfall was estimated at 1.5 billion rands, with tourism and broadcasting and hospitality all benefiting. And for many, it was another dress rehearsal next to the Confederations Cup that same year before we welcomed the footballing world in 2010. More importantly, South African cricket proved it could operate at world-class levels. The International Cricket Council, which is the governing body of the sport, and the Board of Control for Cricket in India took note. But in hindsight, some say that the moment was also the peak, before the cracks began to show. And now, in a twist of deja vu, the IPL finds itself on pause yet again. Just a few days ago, the tournament was suspended because of escalating tensions between India and Pakistan. And even though a ceasefire was announced, the BCCI stated that the IPL would go on pause. And a couple of days ago, they said it'll resume soon, but there's not been a firm date that's been confirmed. And some international countries have already started recalling their overseas players. Sounds a little familiar. Back in 2009, South Africa proved a worthy emergency host. Could history repeat itself? It's too early to tell. In fact, it might be even unlikely, but the echoes are unmistakable. Remember when we hosted the 2009 edition of the Indian Premier League, only for it to reveal the massive skeletons in Cricket South Africa's closet? In the glow of 2009's IPL success, few would have guessed what was about to unfold. By late 2010, accusations of secret bonuses and mismanagement at Cricket South Africa were almost impossible to ignore. The Minister of Sport at the time, I think it was Fikile Mbalula, called for a full inquiry. Enter Judge Chris Nicholson. Now, for those who may not remember or weren't following the saga too closely, here's what the Nicholson inquiry was all about. Appointed in 2011, the ministerial committee led by Judge Nicholson was tasked with investigating maladministration in Cricket South Africa, specifically the unauthorized bonuses from the Indian Premier League and the Champions Trophy, which we also hosted, the conflicts that were involving the board, and the role of the then CEO, Gerald Majola. The findings were damning. Majola had received over 1.7 million rands in undisclosed bonuses. That's about 1.13 million from the IPL and about 640,000 rands from the Champions Trophy. They were not approved by the Cricket South Africa board or its remuneration committee, or REMCO, and more importantly, it was not disclosed to auditors. So when Majola was questioned by the then president, Dr. Mtutu Zelinyoga, and the Gauteng Cricket Board, he denied it flatly, until eventually admitting it, but then claiming ignorance of fiduciary law. Nicholson found that Majola had clearly breached the Companies Act, but it wasn't just about him. It wasn't just about Majola. The entire Cricket South Africa board was criticized for a lack of oversight, complicity, and resistance to transparency. In fact, when Nyoga tried to push for an independent investigation, he was pushed out as president and had to fight in court to return. To make things worse, Cricket South Africa had appointed an internal probe, which was known as the Khan Commission, which Nicholson's team dismissed as a cover up, that it lacked independence, it lacked integrity, or any credibility. So, what followed was a call for a complete overhaul. Some of the recommendations included the reduction of the board size, bringing in independent directors, recovering misused funds, and even the consideration of criminal referrals to the National Prosecuting Authority. This was a reckoning, a reminder that no matter how successful you are on the field, if your house is burning, it will eventually fall. Here's the then President Chris Nenzani, some years later, appearing in Parliament and addressing that mess.
And what I would briefly say is that the last time we were here, that was August 2012, we came here at the time where we had an acting CEO and acting president. And we were at that time in the middle of restructuring ourselves in South Africa. And it was during that time that we came here to give a briefing to Parliament, to this important committee. And subsequent to that, we had an AGM on the 2nd of February 2013, where we elected the current board. And the current board came out after a process, especially the investigation led by the Justice Nicholson on the matters of restructuring, on matters of governance within CSA, take into account the challenges that we were experiencing at the time, the contextual problems that we were facing. Now, what you do have in place, that is a board that is an outcome of the process, where you have a component of non-independent directors coming from cricket, 7 of them, and also you have the president and vice president. Then you have independent directors, which are drawn from a variety of skills within the corporate world. The attempt, therefore, is to give in an input within cricket where you have a component of independent thinking that is going to be looking at the interest of the cricket organization, probably creating a sense where you have an independence of thought within that organization. So what we have now, we have a board that has been in place for practically a year now. And that board has been dealing with a number of challenges. And we believe that we have set the standards in terms of governance for sport in this country. And we believe that we continue to face the challenges that we encounter along the way, in the sense that we are able, as an organization, to deal with those challenges in a manner that is in the best interest of cricket and also is in line with best governance principles around the world. So that's where we are currently, Chairperson. And I will allow the CEO to talk into the presentation. There will come question time for him to deal with some of these matters. Thank you, sir.
And yet, for many years after that report, implementation stalled. The cricketing public lost faith, and the players, they were left performing under the shadow of administrative chaos. Fast forward to the 2020s, and Cricket South Africa was at another cliff's edge. The board and the then CEO were ousted. Sponsors were walking. We were not in the stadium. Stadiums were empty, and government was threatening a full intervention. But from the rubble came the slow rebuild. Puleti Moseki stepped in, first in an acting capacity, and then later confirmed as the permanent CEO in 2022. And under his leadership, Cricket South Africa began to see some real structural reform, not just talking about Nicholson's recommendations, but finally implementing them. The new Cricket South Africa board now features a majority of independent directors. There are a little more clearer governance rules, and for the first time in over a decade, cricket development is no longer just a buzzword. It's being funded, it's being tracked, and it's being prioritized. In its 2023-2024 integrated report, Cricket South Africa notes modest financial gains, but a lot more stable leadership and a rekindling of public trust. It's still fragile, but it's undeniably better than where we were a couple of years ago. Here is the Cricket South Africa CEO, Mr. Puleti Moseki, speaking with the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture about the journey that Cricket South Africa has taken in the past 5 or 6 years.
Those who have been following cricket would know that we've been through some difficult challenges in the past, so I think this slide is quite important to just show the honorable members, the journey that we've been through, especially over the last 6 years or so. You'd see that in 2018, we faced the massive scandal as an organization when it came to match fixing and corruption. Some of the cases are still ongoing now, but they also assisted us in ensuring that we strengthen our processes, to eliminate match fixing, which is really a scourge in cricket and sports in general. So it has assisted us to really strengthen our processes to eliminate it. 2019, that's really where most of our challenges started as an organization, where we basically were having issues with our player association, being SACA. And unfortunately, we experienced that turmoil for the better part of about 3 years, which culminated in some really, really difficult period as an organization that we went through during 2021 and 2022, where the government and SASCOC got involved to assist us to resolve them. As you'd see there, we had a number of resignations and dismissals, even the previous board as well. But that journey was very important for us because I think it has allowed us to be where we are today as an organization, where we can honestly say on a governance front, we are far stronger than we have ever been as an organization. You'd see that in 2021, we adopted a new MOI, which resulted in us as an organization having an independent majority board of directors, and the only national federation in the country that's got that. We also have an independent chairperson of our board, and as I said, this has really allowed us as an organization to actually really strengthen our governance structure. So that pain that we went through during 2019 to 2021, I think really resulted in a far strong organization coming out of that process. While dealing with that, I think everyone will remember the COVID-19 pandemic, which was brutal for everyone, but also especially for sporting federations. Our sponsorship opportunities have never really recovered since COVID. And I don't think it's unique to cricket. I think even the other major sporting codes, but it is some of the things that we really, really dealt with. And the importance of that will come when we basically deal with the numbers in a few slides, But as I said, that period from 2019 to 2021 was quite important because it has set a really strong foundation for us as an organization, So 2022, we had a new leadership which came up with a new strategy and more stability. But one of the pride for us as well was launching a private league, the SA20, which was quite important for us as part of our sustainability journey as a sporting federation.
And then came the SA20, a bold new tournament that felt joyful. It launched in 2023 and it delivered packed stadiums, fresh stars, and a franchise system that was aligned with global best practices. Most notably, the SA20 turned a profit. It matters because in a landscape where international tours are uncertain and Test cricket is waning, tournaments and leagues like the SA20, they could be our sporting future. More than anything, it gave us back something we'd lost, which is pride in our cricket players, in our cricket team, and dare I say, in our administration of the game in this country. The SA20 is no longer just a bold experiment. It's a blockbuster tournament now. It's probably the second best or second biggest tournament after the IPL. So over half the fixtures, I'm talking about the season that just ended, over half of the games were sold out, which is pretty remarkable for a league that didn't even exist about 4 years ago. And on the pitch, the action has been relentless. Big hits, big moments, and sixes landing in every corner of the stands in our stadiums. And it's, for someone who grew up idolizing so many cricketers, dreaming about playing cricket one day, fills me with pride. But there's still growing chatter. Would the rest of the country get a taste of the SA20 and the action? Right now, all 6 teams are based across 4 provinces. And if you're in one of the other 5, it's a road trip for you, or the living room. According to the SA20 commissioner, former Proteas captain Graham Smith, that's not going to change for another couple of years at least. The league is locked in its current franchise model for at least another 5 seasons, giving the teams time to build strong roots before there's any thought of an expansion. So I don't want to say they're playing it safe, but they are being careful. And I think it makes sense.
You know, we want to see South African cricket strong. I mean, that's ultimately the role that we want to play. We want to see, players go from strength to strength.
So remember when we hosted the IPL in 2009 and thought, we can do anything? And then years later, we wondered if Cricket South Africa would exist at all. Well, we've come full circle. We lost a decade to mismanagement, but in the embers, we found new leadership, restructured governance, rediscovered the joy of the game. SA cricket is definitely not perfect, but maybe, just maybe, it's on the right pitch again. Yeah. And who knows, if the IPL ever needs a home again, we might be ready. This has been another episode of Remember When with Andy Lendlovu. Until next time, stay curious and keep score. If you're hearing this, you've reached the end of this episode. I would like to believe it means you've enjoyed it. So, ngiyabonga, thank you very much for that. I would also love to hear your feedback on this episode and suggestions for possible future episodes. So please reach out via email or Instagram or Twitter, whichever you prefer. My handles and my addresses are all on the show notes. And as a last note, please subscribe to this show, rate it 5 stars, nothing less, please, and of course share it on your own platforms. I would love to hear back from you, and I would love to get the show going.